Now on Channel 3 News.
A deadly officer-involved shooting case going before an Escambia County grand jury. The reasoning behind the move from the state attorney's office tonight.
The whole community pulled together under one banner, Rebuild Northwest Florida.
Remembering Hurricane Ivan 15 years later, how people in Northwest Florida are looking back on the destructive storm tonight. Plus, lawmakers honing in on the forgotten coast, why Hurricane Michael is anything but forgotten in the state capital.
You're watching Northwest Florida's news station. This is Channel 3 News at 4.
Our breaking news coverage continues as we come on the air tonight as the state attorney's office hands the officer-involved shooting case of Tamar Crawford to an Escambia County grand jury. Crawford was shot and killed by a Pensacola police officer on July 5th. Pensacola police say he fled from a traffic stop after officers smelled marijuana coming from his car, then got into a struggle with officers. They say he attempted to disarm an officer. The shooting sparked community backlash and protest. State Attorney Bill Edens says he's sending this to a grand jury due to the widespread concern surrounding it.
I believe in the grand jury system. I believe in the fact that it is a cross-section of the community, and I trust and accept their verdict and their decision in matters of this nature.
Edens says the grand jury will also examine the policies and procedures of the Pensacola Police Department regarding the use of deadly force. It is anticipated that the grand jury will begin meeting within the next 2 months on this. Activists have continued to ask for what they see as justice for Tamar Crawford since his death. 2 demonstrations have been held in Pensacola since he was killed, bringing dozens of community members out, carrying signs with powerful messages about Crawford and inciting change. The social justice group Dream Defenders brought a list of demands to Mayor Grover Robinson last month on behalf of the Crawford family and others in the community. The group called for the release of the names of all officers involved in Crawford's death and their termination. The mayor said he cannot address those demands until the FDLE finishes its investigation, which is ongoing tonight. We're told the officer who shot Crawford remains on paid administrative leave right now. Channel 3 is staying on top of this case. Stay with us for continuing coverage on this story tonight on Channel 3 News at 5 and 6. We'll also have updates as they come into our newsroom on our website, weartv.com. As Northwest Florida marks the 15th anniversary of Hurricane Ivan, the tropics are extremely active tonight. Our chief meteorologist, Alan Strum, is here to tell us about the systems we're tracking right now and whether we need to keep an eye out on anything locally. Alan.
Hey, Chorus, locally we're looking okay. Yeah, 15 years ago, we'll never forget that night, of course, and the weeks and months after Hurricane Ivan. But here's a look at Humberto. This is over the Atlantic, so you can see it's off the southeast coast. It's one we've been watching. Look at it in the satellite imagery, really taking on a nice eye, a classic hurricane look there as we check it out. And this one is a Category 1 still at this time, and it is moving away from the southeast coast. Only thing within the cone of uncertainty here is going to be Bermuda. That is within that cone, but you can see the track here takes it away from basically us. There are a couple of other areas that we're looking at. Low formation chance over the Gulf here as that's headed toward Texas. We'll check out and see if there have been some advisories on this one, but we've got a wave here that's been moving over the Atlantic. It should stay out over the open waters, but we'll keep looking at that one. We are expecting some advisories from the National Hurricane Center on that particular system. Couple little showers popped up here and there, but there's not much going on now as we check out radar. The heat is going to be on for the next couple of days, so the sunshine is going to return. Today's weather not too bad, but we're really going to see these temperatures go up here for the next couple of days. In fact, we're looking for highs to be in the mid to even upper 90s, maybe a little bit higher here by midweek. We'll see how tomorrow breaks down, but yeah, sunny and super hot in the area. We'll check on those records, but we could be up there.
Thanks, Alan. On this day 15 years ago, Hurricane Ivan made landfall on the Gulf Coast, causing catastrophic damage. Jennifer Munoz joins us with how people remember the storm that ripped through Northwest Florida in the early hours of September 16th, 2004.
We went to bed not thinking it was going to be that bad.
When the sun rose the next morning, that's when Stephen Link saw the magnitude of damage Hurricane Ivan made here in Pensacola. The first thing he did was drive over to his church, Grace Lutheran. He says it was a war zone.
Couldn't get in the driveway. I saw a roof sitting in the middle of the road and a fireman standing out there, and I said, well, I see my roof is in the road, and he said, no, that's our roof. Your roof is somewhere else.
The church was no longer the one he saw the previous Sunday. The roof had flown off, Everything in the sanctuary was wet, but Link said, thankfully the stained glass at the front of the church survived.
It came through pretty well unscathed, which was a blessing. Everything inside the church, the altar books and everything were on the lectern and the altar, and they were wet, but they were still turned to the gospel lesson of the day from the previous Sunday.
And there was light.
I'm told that our eternal light candle was still burning. I won't say it wasn't.
Now began the process of rebuilding.
Kind of high alert status. You just go into overdrive and start taking care of things.
The next Sunday, members celebrated their worship services in the parking lot. Volunteers from all over the country came to help.
Pensacola came back quicker because the whole community pulled together under one banner, Rebuild Northwest Florida.
After 2 years, members were able to once again celebrate in the sanctuary. The original stained glass back in its place.
It's comforting to know that there's still a little connection to the past, but Grace has always been an exciting congregation looking to the future.
And that original stained glass you saw there is the only thing that was saved from the old sanctuary after the storm. The devastation of Ivan to our region made an impact on the local insurance industry as well. Insurance agent Jason Broxson, who's the vice president of the Hiles-McLeod agency in Pensacola, he says since Ivan, big brand insurers mostly pulled out of Florida and stopped covering homes along the water altogether, leaving some homeowners with only a few domestic options for insurance.
The national brands have vacated the state, So State Farm back in 2004 was the #1 insurance carrier. Now the #1 insurance carrier is based in Florida.
Broxson believes many carriers also decided to leave because of political pressure to keep rates low following the 2004 hurricane season, of course a very active one. Also a note of concern tonight for anyone who had to get their roof replaced 15 years ago from Ivan. Broxson says the recommended lifespan of those replacements is up and you'll want to start looking at getting a new roof or be at a greater risk during a hurricane. The search for a missing 12-year-old still happening in Escambia County tonight. Investigators tell us Cartier Holmes was last seen on West Blount Street early yesterday morning. He's 5 feet tall, 160 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. If you have any information on where he is, call the Escambia County Sheriff's Office immediately.
Prep Spotlight is sponsored by Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram.
All the ingredients seem to be there for a special season at Escambia. Through 3 games, the Gators have done nothing to change that perception. Steve Nissom fills us in tonight.
There is enormous potential at Escambia this season, and the Gators know it. It's definitely having an impact on their approach.
This year, I'm not really worried about stats. I feel like I'm more of a team player this year instead of a stat chaser, So I'm, doing my job better and making sure everything's going well, instead of worrying about a tackle.
What woke you up to that? What woke you up to that? That I should be focusing more this way.
I want to go to state. I want to win a ring this year.
A surplus of talent starts with Frank Pizant. The highly recruited senior rolled up over 1,800 yards rushing last season, and he's taking his punishing, go-all-out style to another level.
He's a hard runner. He's going to run straight north and south. No juking. He's going to come hit you.
Frank is just Frank. He's going to come at you hard every single play. And he doesn't get tired. He just runs and runs and runs.
He's so versatile. You can beat him in the pass game, run game. You can use him as speed back, power back. He's so versatile. So anytime the ball is in his hands, we have a good chance of winning.
A projected linebacker in college, Pizant is at running back because that's where the Gators need him the most. Expect to see him go both ways later in the season. And he's preparing for the defensive role by being dialed in as he plays offense.
The type of defense they in, they formations, attention to detail, all that. So I try to pay attention.
The Gators have a wealth of playmakers at receiver led by JoJo Blackman and DT Gideon, plus a relatively young offensive line is stepping up. But the linchpin on offense is senior quarterback A.V. Smith. In his 3rd year as the starter, Smith is showing his growth.
He's seeing a lot of things a lot better now, have a lot of confidence in himself, in his ability now. He's just much more calm now.
It feels different because the game has slowed down a lot to me, making all the right reads. Compared to my sophomore year, the game was coming fast. His reads were getting there real fast. I had to make him a quick decision. Now at my seniors, I know what's going to happen before it happens.
The Gators are looking very strong on defense. A shutout of Crestview should leave no doubt. Longtime coordinator Gary Coward is working his usual magic, and Coach Bennett puts a lot of credit on leadership, specifically 3 seniors, lineman Xavier Johnson and Ilyas Akbar, plus linebacker Jamal Potter.
I'm really pleased with those guys that they've taken over that leadership role on the defense, because if you had told me when they were sophomores for these guys going to do that, I said, I don't know about that, but they have really taken it serious and worked extremely hard.
In terms of on-the-field production for the Gators defense, it's clear the line leads the way.
We are, pretty stable on the D-line. We got a lot of returners, and we're pretty much dogs on the defensive line, and we make it easier for the linebackers and the DBs and all that.
Them being down to open up holes for me to make the tackles that I make. Without them, I probably wouldn't even be up here.
The Gators had a glaring weakness at kicker, that is until Brian Nava joined the team a week into the season. All he did in his second game was kick the game-winning field goal against Pine Forest. A talented soccer player, they've been trying to get Nava to come out to football practice for 2 years.
All of a sudden, he just shows up, and he kicked in the end zone. I said, well, man, do you want to kick? He said, yeah. Brian's a great soccer player, my understanding. He could be a great kicker also. So we're really excited about having him.
So the pieces are there, and so it seems is the attitude. It helps when your best player is fully bought into going the extra mile.
I always think about though, in everything I do, ever since Coach Howard said that, everything in life, an extra step, an extra run, an extra sprint, that could probably help us later on in life, either in school too.
In Pensacola, Steve Nissom, Channel 3 Sports.
Coming up, recovery after Hurricane Michael. State lawmakers' plans to help counties still struggling in the Panhandle tonight. Plus, looking into the causes of mass violence in Florida, why upcoming legislation is likely to be data-driven.
Download the new Channel 3 News app now, sponsored by the Levin Papantonio Law Firm. First Warning Weather, sponsored by Pensacola State College. Traffic Watch is sponsored by BMW.
Highway 85 northbound into Crestview is starting to back up already a bit there. Otherwise, traffic across northwest Florida is moving smoothly. We've got our next weather maker, what that is, and the weather it'll be causing around here coming up.
Thanks, Alan. As lawmakers return to the state capitol for the first round of committee weeks, one of the most pressing issues is hurricane recovery, especially from Hurricane Michael. As Jake Stofan tells us tonight, effects from the storm, which hit nearly a year ago now, are still ravaging the Panhandle right now.
In many ways, the Panhandle lived up to its nickname, the Forgotten Coast, after Hurricane Michael. A recent survey conducted this summer found 1 out of 3 Floridians weren't even aware the storm hit in 2018. But here in the halls of the state capitol, the storm is anything but forgotten.
Senator Bill Montford represents multiple counties that continue to feel Michael's impact.
We've got to see where the state can fill in some holes, if you will. Housing, ag.
The state is forecasting it will have $800 million less over the next 2 years than previously expected. Senate Budget Chair Rob Bradley says a tight budget won't prevent the legislature from addressing the needs in the Panhandle.
That storm may have been forgotten in other parts of the country, but it is front and center on our minds.
And while lawmakers say they're committed to continuing support for the Panhandle this upcoming legislative session, it will likely be decades before the area is fully recovered. Reporting at the state capitol, I'm Jake Stofan.
Senators we spoke with also emphasized the need to help the timber industry, which took a huge hit during Michael. They are also looking for ways to improve cell phone communications after a storm hits. The Department of Justice tonight is reminding people to be aware of fraud in the wake of Hurricane Dorian. The DOJ established a National Center for Disaster Fund after Hurricane Katrina, when billions of dollars in federal assistance poured into the Gulf Coast region. The NCDF works to improve and further the detection, prevention, investigation, and prosecution of fraud related to natural disasters. Many are left without food, water, or shelter right now due to Hurricane Dorian. The NCDF is encouraging everyone to be on the lookout for those trying to exploit those hurricane victims. To report fraud, you can call 866-720-5721. Again, that's 866-720-5721.
Channel 3 First Warning WeatherNet is sponsored by Peden Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical. Here is Chief Meteorologist Alan Strum.
Well, our next weather maker basically is going to be high pressure and more heat for the area. You know, we've seen a couple of hurricanes just off the southeast coast now. Here's the latest one, Umberto. Of course, we know the other one that devastated the Bahamas. And you can see that that's helped to bring in some drier air for us. And in each case, we've ended up with really hot conditions here around our local area, the northern Gulf Coast. And that's what we've got for the next couple of days. So today, a little bit of cloud cover and really not a bad day. The weather turning out to be pretty decent around here. It could be hotter, but this is the view from the Emerald Grand Condo Towers out of Destin as we check out the scene. And you can see, you know, some of these colors here showing up, not as hot as they could be on our map. Now, some of these inland areas have been a little hotter, though. Maybe a bit more sunshine up around Jay in Santa Rosa County, Bruton as well up into the 90s there. But Milton just showing 85. We're mid-80s around Fort Walton Beach, Destin, Navarre, Pensacola, showing a temperature in the upper 80s. So we're looking at, you know, mostly 80s with some hotter areas for some of the inland areas. And I think tomorrow, though, we're going to see more sunshine and end up with more heat. We had a couple of spots of rain pop up today, too, that helped cool things down a little bit. As you check out our feels like or our heat index values, you can see in some cases we are running up around 100 degrees or so with that feels like temperature. No rain now. As we check out our radar imagery, we're looking dry in most cases. Maybe a little blip here and there down toward the Garcon area and over into Baldwin County. A little bit. Not much showing up, though, and we should see dry weather overnight. And tomorrow, I'm going to let this actually run through Tuesday and Wednesday because you can see what we've got here. Basically just dry weather. There you go, late into Wednesday. It does show a little cloud cover maybe developing, but we're probably going to see sunny and dry weather here for the next couple of days, allowing those temperatures to really get way up there too. Clear skies is what we can expect for the most part, or mostly clear, I'd say. It's kind of a little cloudy for some areas right now, but that should be changing. 70s overnight, and then tomorrow, look for those high temperatures to be getting up potentially into the middle 90s. Some inland areas might hit some upper 90s tomorrow. So yeah, some extreme heat back in the area after, you know, it's been a little bit better here, at least for today. All right, Safe Shores report as we take you down there. We are expecting the surf to calm down, so it's a moderate risk for rip currents right now, but we do anticipate that's going to be settling down a little bit. So yellow flags flying along the coastal areas. You know, that's what we've been seeing, but we're expecting tomorrow potentially to move to green flags. Let's take a look down there and see how it looks today. Yeah, a little cloudy down there around Santa Rosa Island as well. That is the Hardee's Beach Cam, which is on top of South Harbor condos as we check out the view there at Santa Rosa Island and our look ahead showing how things are shaping up around there. So, yeah, tomorrow, seas, as we look at this, seas are going to run around a foot, maybe up to about 2 feet. As you can see, not much on the protected waters there. And our look ahead, yeah, that's some hot weather here for the next couple of days. And then on Thursday, we bring on a chance for rain, maybe 30 to 40%. We'll see about that. Could definitely use some rain around the area. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we bring those temperatures back down. You can see, you know, getting back down to about 90 or so, maybe upper 80s to around 90 late in the week and into the weekend.
Don't underestimate that heat. Stay hydrated. Thanks, Alan. For the first time ever, a Florida Senate committee is delving into the causes of mass violence. As Mike Vasalinda reports tonight, any legislation is likely to be data-driven.
No votes were taken today. Indeed, no bills were even before the committee. Rather, this was the beginning of a conversation about what might be done to stop random mass violence.
We have convened a group of experts in law enforcement, mental health, academia, to present us with some data, profile data, give us some insights into developing technologies that might create early warning signs that we could use to avoid some of these incidents. And of course, the elephant in the room is always going to be, you know, what is this legislature prepared to do, if anything, on common sense, you know, gun safety? And, you know, that jury is still out.
Well, it's early in the legislative process. We're already being told it's highly unlikely this legislature will vote for an assault weapons ban. Rather, that'll be left for voters to decide at the next election. Reporting from the state capitol, I'm Mike Vasalinda.
Moms Demand Action delivered 807 letters to the committee chair, Tom Lee. Most ask for background checks on every gun transfer, not just those from a licensed gun dealer. A final farewell at sea this morning. The ashes of 12 people, including veterans, will now rest 50 feet underwater near Fort Pickens. Their ashes have been mixed with cement to create an environmentally safe artificial reef. Currently, there are more than 18,000 of these reefs and waters along the coast of several states. Census workers are hitting the streets in Northwest Florida ahead of the 2020 census. Many are going door to door in local areas over the next few weeks. The workers, known as listers, are verifying over 50 million addresses You'll see them out mainly in the evenings and the weekends. Take a look now at the bottom of your TV. Every day we offer news, weather, lottery, and stocks at the bottom of your screen. The J Bar keeps you and your family updated with the latest breaking news throughout the morning and afternoon. And don't go away, coming up, a massive explosion at a building in Maine tonight. What investigators are saying may have caused this deadly blast. Hopefully some lucky winners out there. The lead singer of a hugely popular band in the 70s and 80s has passed away. Jared Willits has more in today's Trending Now.
If there is a rock and roll heaven, you know they got a heck of a band. Remember that? 1974, the Righteous Brothers. I mentioned that because, well, it's been a bad week for rock and roll. First any money, and now Rick Ocasek has passed away at 75, found in his Manhattan apartment. They're saying natural causes. Rick Ocasek of the Cars gone to rock and roll heaven. People are talking about it, of course, so we will as well. Thank you for the great music. My first concert was the Cars. He produced music that was fun to listen to. I still smile every time I hear the Cars. My rock and roll heroes are dropping like flies. First Eddie Money, now Rick Ocasek. Who could be next? Well, this week hasn't been good for music. First Eddie Money, now Rick Ocasek. Their music part of my childhood and my teenage years. We're losing all the greats, and it stinks. You know, I helped him with the Shake It Up video on Ventura Boulevard in Encino back in the day. He was one of the coolest and nicest people I ever met. Well, God has been taking all the 80s legends lately, like he's trying to have a big 80s concert or something like that. And yes, these things do happen, it seems, in threes. Eddie Money, Rick Ocasek, who could be next? As one person says, Rod Stewart. No. Anyway, that, my friends, is what's trending now.
A tragic time for rock and roll indeed. Thanks, Jared. If you guys see a viral story or want to weigh in on today's Trending Now, just tweet us over at WEAR TV using the hashtag Trending Now. And don't go away, a new sexual assault allegation against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh, how the president and 2020 candidates are reacting tonight.
Now on Channel 3 News.
A deadly explosion under investigation tonight in Maine. Incredible video of what some neighbors are comparing to a war zone.
There's some estimates that put it by 2025 to be exporting upwards of 8 million barrels a day.
The president responds to an attack on Saudi Arabia oil facility. Why experts say the Trump administration might not need to retaliate right now. Plus, the new questions surrounding another sexual assault allegation against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. One firefighter is dead and 6 other people hurt tonight after a gas explosion in Farmington, Maine. Officials think the explosion was caused by a propane leak. ABC's Megan Tavizarian is in New York tonight with the latest.
This debris littering the ground is all that's left of a building in Farmington, Maine after a gas explosion.
It was just total devastation. Been in law enforcement 35 years. I've never seen anything like this before in my life, except overseas. It was horrible.
Video showing the structure completely destroyed. Neighbors comparing the damage to a war zone.
It just looked like a snowstorm. All this insulation that was coming up and coming in the air, it was crazy, just like a war zone.
This morning, the fire department responding to reports of a gas smell. First responders arriving moments before the blast. The explosion so powerful, people saying they felt it in neighboring towns.
Well, I was kind of just sitting there, and then I heard like a bang, and my windows and the back glass door was shaking.
The explosion killing a firefighter. His colleagues pausing to pay respects as his body is removed from the scene.
We all know the fireman that was killed today, and it affects us tremendously.
6 others were injured and taken to area hospitals. Most were burn victims. The explosion happening at the Central Office for LEAP, Inc., a nonprofit which provides support for people with development, cognitive, and intellectual disabilities.
We'll put the pieces back together that we get from the puzzle. Given the circumstances we have right now, it's just an unknown.
Preliminary reports lean toward a propane or natural gas leak believed to be an accident. Employees inside this building smelled propane and evacuated before the explosion. Megan Tavrizian, ABC News, New York.
A horrible situation. There are thoughts with that firefighter and their family tonight. A U.S. service member killed in Afghanistan. It happened today, but that's about all we know right now. No other details are going to be released until 24 hours after the family is notified. This is the 17th American to die in combat this year, the most since 2014. It comes just days after President Trump announced he called off peace talks with the Taliban. Fallout tonight ongoing after one of the world's largest oil processing facilities is attacked. The strike on a Saudi oil facility put more than half of Saudi Arabia's oil production offline this weekend. A senior Trump administration official says they have intelligence showing the highly coordinated attack coming from Iranian soil. Meanwhile, the Saudi military has yet to blame anyone but confirms Iranian weapons were used. Iran denying involvement right now. And tonight, the price of oil is going way up because of the attack. While President Trump is prepared to retaliate, some experts say he may not need to because of a record-setting oil boom going on right here in the U.S. Sinclair's chief political correspondent, Scott Thuman, shows us.
The attack on a Saudi Arabia oil facility so damaging it could be seen from space. It's reportedly disrupted half their supply, 5% of the world's. President Trump implied Iran is responsible and the U.S. is locked and loaded. But that doesn't have to mean military action, says retired Lieutenant Colonel Dakota Wood.
You don't have to have an F-16, firing a missile at an Iranian patrol boat base or something like that to make a point. There are other options.
Options because the U.S. is more energy independent now, less reliant on the Middle East. We recently went to the Permian Basin in West Texas on assignment for Full Measure to see the crude oil and natural gas boom from new drilling and fracking techniques.
There's some estimates that put it by 2025 to be exporting upwards of 8 million barrels a day.
More than Iraq.
More than Iraq, which is extraordinary to think about. I remember when I graduated from law school in 2003, my law professor said this is a dying industry. We won't be producing anymore.
Experts believe it erases worries of ever returning to gas shortages and the panic at the pump like in the 1970s.
We are now a net oil exporter, which means that the American market is much better protected.
Does that allow this administration to be more bold in its reaction?
Yeah, a lot more flexibility. If you're independent, a lot more freedom, of maneuver on that. You can be more bold or aggressive. You can hold back, a bit and pick your timing in that fight.
Meantime, President Trump says the U.S. will tap into its emergency oil reserves to keep the market well supplied. That's only happened 3 times since the 70s. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
And that brings us to our question of the day. What should the U.S. policy with Iran be? To weigh in, just head over to our Twitter or Facebook page at WEAR TV. Let us know what you think. The late president of Venezuela, Hugo Chavez, ordered his collaborators to flood the United States with cocaine. That's according to a report from the Wall Street Journal. The newspaper claims they had access to documents from federal prosecutors in New York in which a link was established between Chavez and Colombian drug trafficking groups. A newly reported sexual misconduct allegation against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh from when he was a college freshman. President Trump is coming to his defense tonight, calling the allegation an effort to destroy him and, quote, influence his opinions. Meanwhile, some 2020 candidates are calling for impeachment. But now new questions about that report and what the woman allegedly assaulted has to say. ABC's Serena Marshall reports from Washington.
A newly reported allegation of sexual misconduct being lobbed against Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. The New York Times reporting Kavanaugh's former Yale classmate Max Stier told senators and the FBI that when as a freshman at Yale, he saw Mr. Kavanaugh with his pants down at a drunken dorm party where friends pushed his genitals onto a female student. ABC's not naming the woman when she was asked whether others could verify the story, said simply, "All I can say is ask Brett." Brett, a.k.a. Supreme Court Justice Kavanaugh, declined to comment. But the book the article is written from says that the female student Stier described, quote, refused to discuss the incident, and several of her friends said she does not recall it. That detail not included originally in the New York Times article, but added in an updated version. leading the president to tweet, "They're looking to destroy and influence his opinions, but played the game badly. They should be sued." The allegation is similar to ones made during Justice Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing by another Yale classmate, Deborah Ramirez. And in addition to testimony given by Dr. Christine Blasey Ford during the confirmation hearing, that he held her down and groped her at a party when they were in high school.
I believed he was going to rape me.
This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit.
The FBI at the time of the hearing investigated those 2 allegations against Kavanaugh and reported it found no corroboration. However, the New York Times reported that the lawyers for Deborah Ramirez said they had given the FBI the names of 25 people they said could corroborate her claims, and none were contacted. And the New York Times authors say when it comes to this new claim, the FBI was notified but did not investigate. Many of the Democratic candidates running for president were quick to call for Kavanaugh's removal, but others were saying before any impeachment talk, a proper investigation needs to be conducted. Serena Marshall, ABC News, Washington.
This past August was the second hottest on record. That's according to National Oceanic and Atmospheric Association. The agency has been tracking global temperatures for 140 years now. It says August was 1.66 degrees above the average over the last century. In fact, the 5 warmest Augusts have all happened since 2014. 2016 was the warmest August ever recorded.
First Warning Weather, sponsored by Pensacola State College.
And I know you're tracking some activity in the tropics, Alan. Is that going to impact anything here locally, do you foresee?
You know, the impact we have is it's actually helping to bring in some of this hot weather. You know, instead of low pressure like a hurricane, we have high pressure that's going to help aid in all the hot weather that we've had. And, I was looking up those records, too. Tomorrow, 97, the next day, 96. So that's at Pensacola. So, yeah, we're looking at near record or record heat next couple of days around here. So here is Umberto. This is out over the Atlantic, and it's moving away from the southeast, and it's going to continue on that path. It does have Bermuda within the cone of uncertainty. Hopefully it does miss that area, at least the worst part of the storm does. That's the track for Umberto. Also over the Gulf, headed toward Texas, a little bit of unsettled weather, although formation chance on that is low. High formation chance, though, as we check things out back over the Atlantic. Now, we're looking at basically dry weather around the area right now. As you check out radar imagery, we don't have anything that's popping up. We did have a couple showers earlier, definitely a little bit of cloud cover. You know, most of us seeing dry weather, but some spots getting a little bit of rain. And we're looking at mid-80s, mid to upper 80s, but some areas farther inland where we likely have a bit more sunshine have reached mid-90s like Bruton and Jay. Crestview at 92 right now, and we're going to see less cloud cover, more sunshine, and higher temperatures as we take it through tomorrow. Now, as we look ahead, you can see that we've got, well up into the 90s next few days. Really not much of a chance for any rain. It's high pressure that's just going to dominate the area. Later this week, though, maybe a shower, I'd say on Thursday. Maybe. We'll see about that. And then heading into the weekend, looks like another dry one.
Thanks, Alan. Purdue Pharma is now filing for bankruptcy. The drug company took that step yesterday as a method for settling litigation with numerous states and governments that say the company fueled the opioid crisis. The Sackler family, Pharma's owner, says they are working toward a global resolution for the matter. Colin Kaepernick is now part of an Emmy-winning campaign. The Nike ad he was in won an Emmy for Outstanding Commercial at the 2019 Creative Arts Emmy Awards. The commercial, called Dream Crazy, features Kaepernick and other sports icons like LeBron James and Serena Williams. They were all part of Nike's 30th anniversary commemoration of its Just Do It campaign. Nike released the ad in September of 2018, days before the start of the NFL season. Kaepernick made headlines when he began kneeling during the national anthem before games as a protest for injustice. A global recall of a certain type of breast implant because of a link to cancer. This 2 years after a Sinclair station's investigation into a link between cancer and textured breast implants. The company at the center of the story is the one announcing the recall. But what does it mean for millions of women with implants, and how does the FDA go about making sure they're safe from a potential hazard that's already inside their bodies? Tonight, we investigate why women are being told not to have their implants removed on Channel 3 News at 10. Walkouts at dozens of General Motor facilities, why tens of thousands of workers are striking tonight.
Traffic Watch is sponsored by BMW.
Highway 85 northbound into Crestview, slow going there as usual, but it is backing up and has been already this afternoon. That's a look at the Bob Sykes Bridge. Elsewhere around town, we're not seeing really any traffic trouble spots at this time. If you're just joining us, we've got some things in the tropics we're looking at. We've got high heat around here, and we've got when our next chance for rain is coming up.
Tens of thousands of General Motors workers are on strike right now as the United Auto Workers Union walked out at dozens of GM facilities. It's the largest work stoppage by any union against any American business since the last strike at GM in 2007. But the two sides are talking. Karen Kaifa has details tonight from Washington.
The United Auto Workers Union striking against General Motors Sunday night, walking out at dozens of GM factories and facilities in 9 states, including Michigan.
My father was here and his uncle before him. 3 generations. I have children, and my children will have children, and I want this place to still be around for them.
The union says GM is putting profits ahead of its people, many of whom weathered the company's struggles in 2008 and 2009, bankruptcy and a government bailout. GM says it has made an offer that would boost worker pay and make a $7 billion investment in preserving thousands of jobs, in addition to offering a solution for 2 plants slated for closure, one in Detroit and one in Lordstown, Ohio. The union says saving jobs is key to the talks.
Has always been a priority for the UAW to sustain job security in any one of our agreements, and we are going to continue to have those discussions.
Democratic Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan has 2 GM plants in her district.
I think everyone wants to get to a deal, right? People don't want to be out of work. They don't want to be on strike. They want to be negotiating and getting to some conclusion. I was thrilled to see that the parties were meeting again today.
Any deal between the union and GM will set the tone for upcoming contract conversations with Ford and Fiat Chrysler. In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
Channel 3 First Warning WeatherNet is sponsored by Peden Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electrical. Here is Chief Meteorologist Alan Strum.
A little bit of a gray scene there as you check it out from Okaloosa Island. There's a view from the Gulf Area WeatherNet camera. Tomorrow, though, sunshine is back. Next couple of days, sun and extreme heat as our next weather maker is just going to be high pressure, bringing these temperatures way up to near record and record levels across northwest Florida and the northern Gulf Coast. So again, we have a scenario with a hurricane out over the Atlantic and high pressure over the southeast causing this very warm weather. So today it was super hot up into Alabama, around Bruton, even Jay, Florida, Crestview in the 90s. Elsewhere, some cloud cover and even a couple little pop-up showers keeping temperatures down for parts of northwest Florida. Here, your heat index values, as we look at those, some spots up around 100 degrees or so. It does feel a little bit hotter than the actual air temperature when you factor in some of that humidity. As we look at radar imagery, it's showing dry weather now. We had a couple little things popping up early on, but not much showing up on our map at this time. And tomorrow's futurecast shows dry weather, a little bit of a shifting wind, as you can see, rolling into Wednesday. Also a dry day. You see a little bit of cloud cover here showing up late in the day, in a couple little spots, but our rain chances are very low over the next few days. We could just basically plan for more dry weather. 70s overnight, should be dry here for the overnight hours, and then tomorrow we'll get a lot of sunshine and we'll heat that high up, likely into the middle 90s for tomorrow. So some super hot weather. I think inland areas, maybe some upper 90s there. We've been seeing the heat lately, and it is going to continue. Now to the Safe Shores report, moderate risk right now, but we're expecting it to be calmer tomorrow. If for some reason you have beach plans tomorrow, it's looking a little bit better. It's been rough over the last few days. Let's take a look down there now as we check it out from the Hardee's live beach cam. Hilton at Pensacola Beach is where it is. Been a little bit murky in the water too, kind of stirred up lately with a big longshore current, but it is calming down a little bit. It should be calmer tomorrow. Gulf seas are going to run around a foot, maybe up to about 2 feet tomorrow. Smooth to light chop, I'd say, on those protected waters. Now back to the tropics. Umberto over the Atlantic here off the southeast coast. I mean, they've got rip currents and, because of this, very rough conditions out over off the southeast coast with the surf and seas and such. But this actually helps to bring us in drier weather and drier air and the hot conditions. It's kind of a similar setup when we saw the record heat with the other hurricane. But now Umberto is kind of laying it out there. As we take a look now and roll forward in time, you can see it's going to be moving over the open waters of the Atlantic, hopefully missing Bermuda, that within the cone of uncertainty. And it's also expected to get stronger. Might see this become a major hurricane. We do have another area headed toward Texas that has a low chance of formation as it heads toward that area or the It's around the northwestern Gulf is where that is, and then we have a high formation chance way out over the Atlantic. Hopefully it stays within this path over the open waters. So yeah, there's plenty to look at around there. We'll keep you updated on what's happening around and over the Gulf of Mexico. You know, we've got a little more time before hurricane season ends. You know, it officially ends at the end of November, but, you know, usually in November the water starts to cool and stuff around here. But at any rate, there's your look ahead. Thursday's our best shot for rain, 30, maybe 40%, but that's about it.
Thanks, Alan. September is National Baby Safety Month. Walmart is using the opportunity to collect old car seats starting today. Customers can trade in the car seat their child has outgrown for a $30 Walmart gift card. The Superstore is partnering with recycling business TerraCycle to help keep car seats out of landfills. There's a 2 car seat trade-in limit, though, per household. The event runs through September 30th. Don't go away. Coming up, Dancing with the Stars returns tonight. The variety the new cast is bringing to the show's 28th season. Tonight, Dancing with the Stars returns for its 28th season. The new cast is a collection of athletes, singers, a bachelorette, and former White House press secretary Sean Spicer. ABC's Romina Puga joins us backstage in Hollywood for the premiere.
Dancing with the Stars is back.
I would have major FOMO if I didn't do this.
This season, beloved bachelorette Hannah Brown, Dawson's Creek actor James Vanderbeek, and country singer Lauren Elena are just some of the celebrities competing for the Mirror Ball Trophy. 70s supermodel Christy Brinkley was set to participate until this fall. During rehearsals, sidelined her. A last-minute substitution, her daughter Sailor Brinkley Cook.
I freaked out and I was like, I don't know if I can do this, I'm so scared. And then I met with everyone from Dancing with the Stars and my partner, and I felt this high.
Athletes Lamar Odom and Ray Lewis are no strangers to competition.
The last time I competed for a championship in LA, I won.
What's really interesting about dance and football is it's all footwork.
Funny woman Kate Flannery from The Office is transferring her comedic talent to the dance floor.
Dance involves timing and comedy involves timing.
Queer Eye star Karamo Brown has won 3 Emmys. Can he win the judges' votes?
They can put me in anything. There's not one thing that I'll say no to.
From the Supremes' Mary Wilson to Fifth Harmony's Allie Brooke, these songbirds are trading the recording studio for the dance floor. The common thread tying this cast together, their excitement over the infamous costumes.
I am living for it.
90s comedian Kel Mitchell is dusting off his dancing shoes. But the wild card this year, former White House press secretary Sean Spicer.
I figured this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to do something way out of my comfort zone.
It's going to be a grueling 12 weeks for this new cast, but Carrie-Anne, Len, and Bruno are back to judge the 28th Dancing with the Stars competition. Live in Hollywood, Romina Puga, ABC News.
Stay with us. We'll be right back with your look ahead to Channel 3 News at 5.
Well, several things across the Atlantic Basin we're taking a look at, including Hurricane Umberto coming up on Channel 3 News at 5. We'll be tracking all the systems to find out what's expected. And heat, it's our next weather maker. Find out how long it stays in place.
Coming up at 5, a deadly officer-involved shooting case will soon go before an Escambia County grand jury. What will be examined in the death of Tamar Crawford? Plus, remembering Hurricane Ivan 15 years later, how the destructive storm impacted the insurance industry in Northwest Florida. Lawmakers honing in on the forgotten coast, why Hurricane Michael is anything but forgotten tonight in the state capitol. For those stories and more, stay tuned for Channel 3 News at 5.